Hey everybody, we're back. We're going to talk a little bit more about my time with Brad Stine. We're going to do a little bit more of the Love Dare. Maybe talk a little bit about the rapture that's supposed to happen or was supposed to happen this week. And just your usual Zidanza shenanigans today. All that and more on
Sedanza.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey folks, welcome back to Zidan's. I'm Objectively Dan. Zod, why the get that? Why do you look like the grumpiest grumpster to ever grump right now? What's
I'm
going
not
on?
grumpy. I'm just sad
Why are you sad?
because I don't have a background.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say because you missed the rapture. Look, I wouldn't have said it. See, nobody would have pointed out, I think. Now you pointed out that you do not, in fact, have a background. It's kind of cool, though.
I can't hide the fact
No.
that I'm sad. Sometimes you're just sad.
Here's another thing, too. I can't ever wear I'm wearing black shirt today, and I can't ever wear black around you because then we both wear black, and it looks like we're trying to do a thing.
This is green.
Is that green? Okay, maybe I am just colorblind. Chad, is that green?
Yeah.
Because that looks black to me, I think.
Yeah, I could use a hug. If anybody wants to leave a hug in the web zone, I'll mail you a pizza roll.
Yeah.
All right, let me see. Get a little brightness on here. Can you see the green?
It did get greener. Yes. See, because the lighting is mostly around your beautiful face, Sod. So I can't. Your clothes are kind of lost in transition, I think. Now you look like you're like you look like you just found a treasure chest in like the Goonies or something, and the gold is kind of reflecting off of your beard. Yeah. Yeah, a little bit of that. Folks, I fully anticipate we're not going to have a full audience tonight because a lot of you are playing Hades too today because that's what I was doing for the past like 3 hours before this.
That's the other reason I'm sad is I'm here instead of playing Hades too.
Yeah, I'll be real. I had just an absolute terrible day at work, and I was like, okay, it's about time. I'm just gonna peace out for work, because a lot of times I work late and stuff, and I'm like, I'm just gonna play for a little bit, and I'll check in a bit. Folks, I did not check back in. I never check back in. Okay, I'm fully in it. A little gamer talk. Okay, I know y'all don't play video games, but those of you that do, Hades 2, let me tell you, they did it again, folks. They did it again. One of my favorite games. The first one. They're doing it really good. I'm only a few hours in though, so we'll see. But
I'm still hoping that Jesus is the main character instead of Zagreus.
That would be awesome if you get to fight Jesus.
No, you are Jesus, and you have to fight your way out of Hades using Jesus.
Yeah, being Jesus would be interesting. I like the idea that Jesus exists in the canon of the Hades sort of gods. Because actually he might be canon because if you remember in the first Hades, like you could get the different weapon aspects, and one of the aspects was the aspects of Satan, which implies that maybe God could be real, right? Or yeah, you're right. It was Lucifer. Yeah,
they had a lot of cross mythology in the final aspects, right?
A little cross mythology, But anyways,
wait, hang on.
Mm-hmm.
David said I noticed that Brad posted the second video.
Wait, he did? Wait, hold on.
We've been checking it. We didn't see it. Let me look.
Really? Wait, that changes things. Because that changes things. Because I was going to post a little bit more of the first one today, but where did he post the second one? I literally have his channel up right now, David. Give me the links. Give me the links. I need to know. I need to see it. I'm looking at the other comments here.
I still only see the first one.
Yeah.
Unless it's...
Did he post it somewhere else? Or is it under a different title?
Videos is just Daily Brad's. Unless he's doing shorts from it, but I don't think he is.
David, don't leave. It's alive? No, it's not. I don't see it.
Yeah, there's no live. Yeah, just send us a link if you don't mind.
He's got my first debate with an atheist, which is me, and then he's done 2 since then. One is with, oh wait, is it in? Is it in the middle of one of these other ones? Wait, is it? Wait. It is. Zod, it is. It's in the middle of the next one.
What
Wow, he
the
just shoved
hell?
that thing in there, huh? Wow, he did. He didn't even he didn't even feature me in the title. I was a side act. I was a side act in Brad's live.
He shoehorned you into a Charlie Kirk video?
Are you kidding me? I
What?
got sidelined for Charlie Kirk.
This guy
No.
this guy is the worst at YouTubing that I've ever seen in my life. He has an atheist on to
What?
have a conversation, and he doesn't even, like it it's like opposite clickbait.
What the heck?
Thank you, David, for letting us know that. That is I would have gone my whole life and never knew that he did that because I really had no interest in hearing Brad Stine's thoughts on Charlie Kirk for 2 hours, and
He put me in there. Why couldn't he have waited? Yeah, I get it. Listen, the Charlie Kirk thing happening, that's a big deal, right? I would have, if you were smart about it, I would say, yeah, you do Charlie talk about Charlie Kirk, and then you post part 2 of our thing the next week and just do that. But he shoved that thing in there. That's a 2-hour live where I'm just in there. Wow. Wow. That sucks, man. I hate that I'm figuring this out live. Damn.
someone goes because they
Wow.
wanna hear Brad's thoughts about Charlie Kirk, and it's just I mean,
Should we play
he
that?
has
We
his
could.
45 it's probably his 45-minute intro. He probably titled his video after the 45-minute intro and not about what the actual stream was.
Yeah, we could watch that a little bit if you wanted. I don't know.
If you
I'm at a
if you wanna
crossroads here
if you
because
wanna if you wanna scrub it a little bit after we talk about the rest of part 1, it's up to you.
yeah, I mean, honestly, I was looking through the rest of part 1. There are some good parts in the part 1 that we could talk about. But like at the same time, how many streams do we talk about Brad? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I don't know. Are we gonna do part 2 again?
No,
Like
so
in the
that's what I
future?
think. I think my
Yeah.
personal opinion is this is throwing us a curveball right in front of everybody on Steam.
Yeah,
I
really.
think we're already 9 minutes in. We need to get to the content right away, unlike
You're
last
right.
time.
You're right.
We need to get to it and then just the rest of this stream, unless you want to stop and do a love dare, the rest of the stream you can scrub through whatever you want of the rest of 1 and 2, and then we're just going to close our books on this. Does that sound like a good plan?
All right, that's fine. That's fine. I just realized I went to the second one. I clicked out of my link to the first one. So let me look at.
All right. I
Oh,
think I've
there it
proven
is.
this is green. I can take this hot light off me now, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. You do what you got to do. I'm gonna put the share screen up.
Don't mind me.
Okay,
I'm not playing Hades right now.
man. If you played Hades while we were streaming, I don't know how I'd feel about that. I'd be like, "What? Why the fuck are you doing it? I would be doing it too. We should do it together." If we would have thought about it, we probably could have streamed just playing Hades, honestly. That would have been a thing. Look at my face in this, by the way. Um, that's a look, I gotta say.
You should make that your thumbnail
My
or your
thumbnail, yeah, for
your.
sure. All right, I guess we can get back into it. So if you missed last week, you should definitely
Hang on,
watch.
real quick.
Yeah.
Asher asks, "Zod, are you going to live stream you playing?" Maybe I've done some live stream. I've done some gaming on stream. If you guys want to watch that, I just did 1980X last night. I've thought of doing Hades, but I don't know if I want that to be a for me thing. So if you really want to see that and you pile on a ton of comments, maybe I'll think about doing that. But anyway, I'll quit talking about my stuff. Let's get to Brad.
Yeah, I'm with you, Zach, because there was a time where I was like, oh, I could stream video games, and then I realized I kind of just want to play for me a lot of times. There's definitely some experiences that might be fun sharing, but like, I don't know. Um, that would be a hard thing to do. So anyway, let's get back to this again. If you missed last week, I did get to talk to Brad Stine, and it was recorded for his channel. And yeah, he just fit me in the middle of his little podcast. Apparently, I wasn't even its own special upload, which is fine. It's fine. It's whatever. So last time we just talked about some of the ridiculous stuff, the things I had to go through. I did read some of the comments. A lot of comments in support of me, I would say, which is interesting to see. I don't know if it's all you guys going over there or what, but mostly just like some people saying I should have been able to talk more, things like that. So we can get right back into it. But like, you know, this content does have the problem with it being that it is sometimes Brad just preaching at me, but it is kind of funny at some point. So we'll dive right back into to where we were in our
Yeah,
conversation here.
I have a problem listening to Brad talk about anything, not even because he's offensive, but because he's just long-winded and undisciplined.
Yeah, we won't talk about Brad this whole stream. We'll get to some other stuff, but people were saying they wanted to see some more, so we'll get to it.
Christian again, you want to evangelize to me? I'd love to see that happening because the
we'll
meaning.
go too
Sure,
far
we're
ahead.
in a
Let me
good
go back.
spot here. Anything about that you could think was unfair or not what I was trying to premise before?
I think
No,
Program themselves, creating themselves from whole cloth, and
here in a few minutes here because I
Okay.
am past my time.
okay,
But
something subject object distinctive that we can observe and draw conclusions for. That the emphasis it always need you to go in.
oh my God!
Example,
Wait,
if
sorry.
there's a ability that we can
evidence ever that God doesn't exist. It almost sounds like you don't even want that. It sounds like,
Man, I'm at the wrong spot.
game that our
Hold on.
molecules are playing. These conversations, hey, which is consciousness.
Really says, "Oh, please do evangelize me."
I know. I really did.
Enough. So whatever you are enjoying during your meaningful,
While you're
Is
scrubbing,
this
we have a
all
couple
there
of people
is,
saying
and
they want
that's
us
the
to do
meaningful-
DDR. Is that Dance Dance Revolution?
Please do DDR.
I don't
Yeah,
know
we
that I'm
Dance
going to
Dance
do that.
Revolution. As far as I'm concerned, you and me, Dance Dance Revolution. I'd be down for that. Sorry, I thought I was more prepared for this. I thought I had the right spot. It was not the right spot that I thought.
life that you've given me is that I just get this, and then when I
say God does.
Here we go. Found it. I'm right on the money. Okay, we're good. We're good, Zod. Sorry, folks at home. Let's get back to it. Okay.
Doesn't give you eternal. It is. But can I ask you this in turn though, Brad? Let's say God doesn't give you eternal life. Does your life have meaning?
Okay, that's a little bit convoluted. What do you mean if
Is it?
God? So I'm still believing in God.
Yeah, I still believe in God, but
It's convoluted. That's an interesting adjective to describe that situation. I don't think it's that convoluted.
I feel like that was a very succinct, straightforward.
Yeah, I thought I was pretty straightforward with that one. But let's see his response.
say it's just the concept of like Sheol, like the Jewish people,
Oh,
right? Where there's not necessarily a heaven or a hell. Does that mean that your life had meaning at that point?
I mean, I guess I would have to try to make sure that I'm understanding that if there's a Sheol, then that means I'm still existing.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I guess let me clarify because that's an interesting point. I guess let's say that God says you just get this one life on Earth. There's no heaven, there's no hell, there's no afterlife. Once you're here, you're done, and that's it. Your consciousness is gone. Would you cease to have a meaningful life at that point?
Am I able to ask God, is this all there is, and that's the meaningful life that you've given me, is that I just get this, and then when I disappear, that's that, but you're telling me that that's meaningful? Is that what you're saying to me, Lord? Because if that's is that
I
what
don't know
you're
if he's answering that for you. I think that's something you got to figure out yourself.
No,
because I'm asking you. I mean, is that meaningful? Is that a meaningful life if this is all you got?
Well, unfortunately, it would be impossible to answer that question with any kind of clarity if you first premise God, who tells me.
Yeah. So he's about to. Well, actually, I'll let him talk this part.
Yeah, let's just let him go.
You're about to go into eternal oblivion.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. So does God have to tell you that your life has meaning in order for it to have meaning?
Of course.
Like, would it be more meaningful? So it would be more meaningful if there was no heaven, there was no hell, but God said, "This is your life. Do as you will. This is all that you got." Suddenly, that's meaningful.
Well, it would be meaningful only in the fact that if we are defining meaningful as having teleology, that there is a completion to this that by which the architect put into place. Because I can't do anything about it. If God said, "Here's the deal," there's nothing I can do. You're God. So, all right, seems crazy to me, but you're God. So if you're telling me this is all I get, but that's good enough. So whatever you are enjoying during your cognizance, enjoy it, but then you're going into eternal unconsciousness. You'll never know you were here. You'll never know you existed. Nobody that you know or you won't know you were here to even contemplate if your life had meaning. Thus, it's meaningless. Clearly, if I'm no longer conscious, there's no meaning.
So this is interesting because I've pretty much been talking to Brad this entire time about this concept with meaning. And I said, yeah, I don't think there's anything after this, but I still think my life can have meaning. And for Brad, that's been a non-starter. Like that's been kind of nonsense. Like you can't do that. But if God told Brad, hey, you're not going to be conscious after this life, and this is all the life you get, suddenly that has meaning. So he would get to have meaning in that scenario, but I don't, if you can wrap your head around that. You got to be told what to do, I guess, in order to have meaning.
I think Plow King basically nailed it. He can't even fathom the premise of your question. Like, I think he's so locked into an evangelical Christian idea of what meaning is and how God assigns it and stuff like that. You throw in anything, any hypothetical that happens within the framework of the Christian world, and he's just like, it's not the dichotomy between this exact idea of evangelicalism and my straw man of atheism. And so I can't even get my head around a very simple hypothetical.
Yeah. I agree with you there. Because like, again, like Brad's whole premise, and not just exclusive to Brad, but Christianity's whole premise is, oh, God gets to dictate everything. God makes the rules. He's the maker. And so whatever he says goes. And if God apparently says, yeah, you can live and do your thing, but that's it. That's okay. That's still a meaningful life because God said so. My life lacks meaning because God didn't tell me to do anything, I guess, or I don't have a God. So that's it.
Well,
that's the difference between Brad's life and mine. That's why his is meaningful and mine isn't, apparently.
What I find just fascinating, and all the retorts to these are really obvious, and we've all been through them 1,000 times, so I don't really want to argue it.
Yeah.
But I just think it's just amazing that he can't really think about what gives God I don't know if the right to do it, but he can't think through why God deciding something has meaning gives it meaning, and then generalize some version of that to, if God doesn't exist, humans do some version of that. Even if it doesn't apply to everything, we do some version of that within a sphere of our life and our experience. And all of us are doing it in some way, and those gel-ins, he can't even, or just refuses to make that connection and realize that some version of God creating meaning can come from humans. And obviously, as with morality, it gets you to some dilemmas where how do different people's versions of meaning collide, and how do you whatever. But yeah, it's just bizarre.
Yeah, but like I just, like, my life totally unfathomable to Brad. It doesn't make sense, but he can make sense of it somehow. The Time Jumper, thank you for your $2, saying Brad is afraid to think for himself. I think all Christians are kind of afraid to think for themselves a little bit, because thinking for yourself on some issues means you're going against the grain, my friend. You know, it's not really a good thing to be when you're a Christian. They don't particularly like that, for the most part.
And that can sound like a generalized insult, but I think there are things built into the nature of Christianity, at least fundamentalist Christianity, where you do come to things that are just showstoppers, and you can't let yourself. It's kind of like the famous thing where Bill Nye asked Ken Ham what would change your mind, and he just said nothing. Like, you do have to put up mental blocks, and all of us can do that to some extent. But yeah, it's built into the nature of Christianity.
I think based on some later stuff, especially in part 2, if we get to that, Brad is definitely the kind of guy where if you asked him what would it take to change your mind, he would say nothing, I think, which is sad. I think that's a sad worldview. You know, to never change your mind about anything. I don't know. I can't vibe with that.
It's disappearing into oblivion, which is what's going to happen in the universe. That's my elevator concept. I don't care what you come up. I don't care if you're right about atheism, that, there's no real meaning, but hey, we figured out a few things. We learned to live a bit longer. We had some happy times, and then we died. Once the universe vanishes, this was a game. This was a dream. This was nothing. This didn't matter. These conversations were pretend. We were determined to have them. If we're determined, like Sam Harris said, I have to believe in God. I can't help it. You have to not believe in God. You can't help it. You're programmed that way. That's just pretend that we're having a conversation seeking absolute truth at the end. There is no absolute truth. It's all a game that our molecules are playing to allow us to flourish and continue until we don't exist, which, by the way, why am I trying to exist when I don't? I'm going to go into oblivion. That's the incoherency that
So
no
it sounds like
overcome.
then the truth of it, that kind of doesn't matter to you almost, because if I could, if I, and I can't do this, but if somebody said, okay, here's the most objective evidence ever that God doesn't exist, it almost sounds like you don't even want that. It sounds like the idea of living on forever is so impactful for you that like it's going to make your life inherently meaningless if you discovered that as a truth. Like it's almost like something you don't want.
Well, that certainly would be true if there were if there was no God, but there's meaningless. But the fact that we can have the conversation means God exists. That's the point. You can't contemplate the non-existence of God unless there is something that has given you the ability to reason and to go outside of your material. Let me give you an example. If there's
Once again, just going completely in a different direction in our conversation as soon as I make any semblance of a point, right? As has happened before with this. But yeah, isn't this interesting?
He thinks out loud clearly, and some people have chalked that up to ADD and not in a mean way, like they'd say in a sympathetic way. I've seen it in some comments. But his ADD just tends to lead him into, it's like his mind thinks in apologetic ruts. And so I think everything you start talking about, his vocabulary and his way of thinking, it just gets him into one of those ruts, even if it's not on the topic that we're talking about. That's the way I read that anyway.
I'm glad you brought that up. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I love to, oops, I jumped on me. Hollyhock mentioned interesting use of pretend. Like, Brad, pretend means you imagine something that never existed, not something that temporarily exists. I don't know. That's Go ahead.
I felt like at this point in my conversation, my words kind of also weren't making sense because I was just so brain dead from this entire thing. So I feel like my wording here kind of doesn't make sense. But like somebody made a very thoughtful comment on our last week's video. I'm sure you saw it, about analyzing sort of Brad's ADHD. And that's not him diagnosing. That's Brad said it at the beginning of last week's thing, and I talked about my experience too. And yeah, Brad is definitely ADHD. There's no doubt in my mind. But here's the thing: I'm also ADHD, and that doesn't excuse you from some of the shit that he does in this fucking conversation. Okay, let me tell you, as someone who does way less media work than Brad does, okay, like he should have at least a way to get this shit together. You know what I mean? Maybe Brad's not the type to medicate for himself, and that's fine, but it's like, okay, but you still have to interview with people, right? You still have to make sure other people are talking and stuff. Like, you know, that's something you still gotta self-regulate on. Otherwise, nobody wants to listen to you, right? I don't know. But I thought that was interesting.
I wouldn't say that I have ADD, but I mean, I don't know, but I definitely recognize that I can fall into a pattern like him of just over explaining and talking out loud. Yeah. And you have to recognize what it looks like and try to stop doing it. And yeah, that's on him if he doesn't.
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting because somebody brought that up, and to be sympathetic to Brad. And I agree. I have sympathy there as an ADHD person, but it's still like, again, you got to get shit together still. You got to, I don't know, it's got to be better than this. Anyway, we'll keep going.
There's a hard drive in your computer. It's filled with data. Does it ever teach itself things, or does it always need you to go in and begin to search for something? Hey, I want to learn about tribes in Ecuador. Does the computer start talking about, or does me, a subject, have to come over and say, show me tribes in the Ecuador? And it says, here's some data. And I go, oh, interesting. That's what my brain is. Collects data based on 3 dimensions and observation with 5 senses.
Well, you know, but that's, I'm sorry, that's a bad example. I'm somebody who works in computers. You know, we have computers that.
I knew you were a nerd. I told you.
Well, we have computers that can take.
Yeah,
I just love how pleased he looks right at this moment too, having said that.
I forget. Did we talk about the nerd comment? Because that was towards the beginning of the video. I know you saw it. I don't know if we talked about it on stream.
Yeah.
But he did call me a nerd at the beginning, and I kind of just brushed it because I guess because I was dressed kind of nice. He like called me a nerd, and then he just brought back the nerd thing, and I did not give him any a recourse here. I just completely ignored it because what am I was again, this conversation was already surreal enough. I didn't know what to make of Brad Stine calling me a nerd live on an interview. But
I take that as clumsy but kind of good-natured humor. Like,
yeah, it is pretty funny.
yeah.
Yeah, so he uses this idea, and again, this is Brad's ADHD because now we have switched topics to talking about like meaning and stuff or computers, right? And his example is, well, a computer has to have a subject, has to have somebody to input stuff in, but like we can make like autonomous computers. Like that's a thing. And like they're only going to get better. So I don't know if that's the best example
Yeah.
to do that with, but you know, it's whatever. I can keep going here.
Big data from environments with no human input at all. Once we set them up, they can kind of do
Whoa,
stuff
whoa,
on
whoa,
their
whoa,
own.
whoa, 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 whoa. Once we set them
Well, yeah, they're not built on their own.
Well, they're not built on theirs. Welcome to
computers
God,
aren't,
brother.
but that's different.
Welcome to
That's
God,
a separate conversation.
brother.
I mean, if
welcome to God. That's it. That's it. Computers aren't built on their own, therefore God. Did you catch that?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true, isn't it? Mm-hmm.
That was the most unwarranted condescension I've ever seen in my
I know.
life.
Well,
holy buckets.
because
buddy.
again, like Brett. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, we get that. We've heard of Ray Comfort, buddy. We get the whole something exists, therefore there must be a creator, therefore God. You're not revealing this to us. This is whatever.
Well, that Brad's doing the thing again, because we were again like a minute ago, we were talking about something completely different. We were going down a completely different road of argumentation, but I know you've all seen this, you've all experienced this in conversations. If you ever watch my Colin show, you've seen this happen all the time, where the other person kind of figures out they're losing that argument, so they switch arguments. So now they're talking about like creation, like a prime mover sort of thing, and like that's what we've now switched into, right? So it's just totally, we just never go anywhere basically. But I guess it is entertaining in a way.
We're going to talk about
it's not a separate conversation.
Evolution and stuff.
It's the ultimate conversation. You thank you. What a perfect example of what I'm talking about. In the best case scenario, as humans analyze the world, that any kind of data, information, anything is always given by an agent, always given by an engineer, always given by something subject object distinctive that we can observe and draw conclusions for, that the information cannot draw from itself. We need somebody else to make that conclusion. You accept that in computers.
Man, Brad, you have a great habit of just putting a lot of words into my mouth. I gotta say, I've talked to a lot of Christians, but I'll tell you, it is quite frustrating how often you do this.
Do what?
I have no idea what you're talking about. This subject object distinction, I made nothing of that sort. You're kind of going on about this, and I have no idea why.
Well, let me see if I can. Let me see if I can clarify. Then,
yeah,
you said that computers, hold data, and I guess you said that sometimes they can be programmed.
You can make autonomous computers. Yeah, they can do things on their own.
Okay, and then I said, "Aha." But somebody has to program them.
Yeah, what does that have to do with anything that we've been talking about? I'm very confused, because people are not robots, right? We're the whole other thing. But that doesn't mean that we're intelligently designed or anything, if that's what we're going for.
Well, because would you say your brain is like a hard drive?
It's similar. For sure. There's definitely similarities.
So would you say your brain is like a hard drive? If asked on the street.
This is just painful. This is painful.
Is it?
This
It's
this this I wonder if this is what unedited Ray Comfort looks like.
well, you see why I'm getting frustrated at this point, because like again, like I just pointed out, like he just completely switched topic, and then he's saying, "Oh, you accept the subject object distinction, you accept all these things," and obviously I don't. But yeah, now we're talking
I
again about this.
I would be curious. I think I have some general idea. I probably have a better idea than he does of what he means when he distinguishes subjects and objects. Like
Yes.
it it's very loose terminology, and I think it's just trying to get your head around basically a causer and a cause. I think that's probably what he's roughly going for. But yeah, this is so pedestrian in so many words, and it just is painful to hear.
I know.
And of course, the whole thing is everything has to come from something. You're just kicking it up to God. So if God's a computer, did somebody have to program God?
Yeah.
This is just the most. That's the thing. Like it can be tempting to want to debunk this, but we and everybody in the chat know the answers to this. We've heard it over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
And he's taking this ancient ass 70s era at the latest
Yeah.
apologetics bullshit that's just sat there and festered in its own filth for decades.
I know.
And he's just repeating it as if it's fresh and new and a gotcha.
Yeah. And so this was kind of the disappointing part about my conversation with Brad, because it was like, oh, there's like not a lot of new material in terms of the argument department, really. And I mentioned this last week. He did ask me if I gave him anything new, or if he gave me anything new, and I did tell him no. Not really. But yeah, and so in so many words, we are kind of treading what Ray Comfort has made a career kind of talking about, right? This sort of yeah.
Ray Comfort has already reduced these absolute garbage arguments. He's boiled it down to like just street level pablum already. And Brad's just repeating the softest, mushiest, boringest version of that. It just in way too many words. What I love, Brad really exemplifies this. When you've listened to apologetics so long that you think literally everything is proof for God, then whoever you're talking to is constantly self-owning and proving your own point. And Brad just delights in that every time he hears it. There's literally nothing you can say that he wouldn't think you're just proving God and you just gotcha yourself.
Yeah.
Because he thinks everything, in fact, including the fact that we're talking, oh, that proves God. Can't you see that, you idiot? Ha ha ha.
No, he literally does say that. Like he says, the fact that we have logic and reasoning and we're able to discuss things.
Yeah, we heard it just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, yeah. Which is
you have some tenuous line of reasoning that God anything that happens isn't just proof of, to me, anything that happens is just proof of its own existence. It's not a proof of an invisible mind out there somewhere. He thinks it is, and he thinks that's just obviously evident. And so instead of even trying to build an argument for it, he just repeats common talking points and then just laughs at you because, ha ha, you've just proven God and you don't even know it. You nerd.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So we'll just do a little bit more of this, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. How many hard drives are you aware of that have programmed themselves, created themselves from whole cloth, and were infused with data that they created on their own without any input from an engineer?
Well, I don't think that tracks with people at all. Like, I don't
I know you don't.
I don't think that's how people came to be.
I
Like,
know.
I don't think like, like I don't think that's how Christianity really works either. I mean, like, I don't know. Are you a young Earth?
You can tell I'm losing my mind at this point. I really don't have much to say.
I have a friend who was retired computer scientist. He would eat this shit alive.
Yeah.
He would like just the cement. Like he's like, yeah. I've had this argument. So I've explained it to him, and he tells me I give too much ground because computers do a lot of this stuff. He just Brad's such a dumbass. He thinks that. Okay, that's a harsh way of saying it, but he's such a layperson when it comes to computers that he's extending these analogies into territory that don't even belong. Like computers do more than just hear you input information. Yeah. There's a reason computers beat the greatest chess master in the world. It's because
it's sorry. Creationists, you think God like created Adam and Eve and then the whole world started from there? Like, is that
definitely created Adam and Eve? How that worked or how that?
So is that
I don't know.
6,000 years ago, or
I don't know. Oh, I don't know. No idea.
well,
idea.
it's funny because like you're saying I can't observe objective facts, but we can't even agree on how old the world is.
Oh,
Because Christianity is kind of preventing you from that. Because just science has an answer. Science doesn't say the world was 6,000 years old, right?
I didn't say it was. Why are you putting words in my mouth?
Well, yeah, but you're saying you can't know it. But I'm saying, yeah, we can know that the world isn't 6,000 years old, right?
I didn't say. What do you mean? I can't know it.
Well, do you think it is, or do you think it isn't?
I said to you, I don't know. I don't necessarily think it's 6,000. I'm not a young Earth creationist. That's what you're asking.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. But I'm saying like we can categorically rule that out as being true.
Wait, Brad
right?
really seems to hate it when someone puts words in his mouth, doesn't he?
Yeah, I know, right?
That sucks, doesn't it, Brad?
Yeah. Like, I'm not like, again, you can tell this is from my frustration, like trying to put things back on track, trying to lay the heat on him a little bit. Cause it's like, yeah, why can't you just say the earth isn't 6,000 years old? Right. You notice he hesitates on that. I mean, eventually he says, yeah, I don't think so. I don't think it is. But like Christianity kind of makes you say, I don't know on that subject. I don't know about you. This was definitely an emphasis in my Christian community, that even though I grew up originally with Methodists who really don't have a problem with evolution, I eventually like grew up around Baptists, and Baptists, obviously a lot of them don't believe in evolution. So this idea of like how old the earth is and stuff, they kind of just like to say, well, we don't know. There's a lot of stuff we don't know about the creationist sort of worldview, or what God did at the beginning. And it's like, well, you're only saying you don't know because like it kind of contradicts with what the Bible says, right? Like if you didn't have the Bible, you would just say, yeah, the earth is probably, several billion years old. Because yeah, of course it would be. Why wouldn't it, right? But because the Bible has a story on it, then we have to kind of question that. But anyway, sort of.
So there's one thing he said here that just defines the utter folly of this whole conversation.
Yeah.
He said, well, yeah, I believe God created Adam and Eve. I can't tell you anything about how he did it, but I believe he did it. So he writes himself a pass for that. Right. But you have to explain everything about where life came from, how this conversation has meaning. You can't just say, oh, I think it's just this way naturally, and I can't say how. But he gets to say, I think we were created, and I can't explain anything the mechanics. So
yeah, it's not a great look. Not a great look. Like, you were talking about logic. We're talking about reason.
Yeah. What is logic and reason? Is that something that's material?
That's an interesting question. I don't know that I know the answer to that myself, to be honest with you. There's a lot of arguments about that.
So why do you use it then?
Well, logic and reason. And by the way, I do have to get going here in a few minutes here because I am past my time.
Okay.
But like, why do I use logic and reason? I think logic and reasoning can help me further my own efforts as a person. I think it can help me understand true things.
There are abstractions
without presuming it exists.
Well, I never said it doesn't exist. I just don't know if it's material or not.
Mm-hmm. But you
have logic exists.
But you have faith that logic exists before you use logic. Yes.
Do I have faith that logic exists before I use logic?
Yeah. In other words, you can't.
I mean, I think logic exists. I don't know why I need faith for that.
Because you use it, so you have to assume it makes sense, that it's coherent and comports to reality.
Well, there's a lot of things I use without faith. I mean, I guess do I have to trust that my senses are correct? I mean, that's kind of different from logic.
No, right? Logic is the most important thing because it's what allows us to have a coherent conversation and see if we can find truth to it that is outside of us.
Brad,
right? So,
do you have 4 apples? Well, then yes. Then does the number 4 exist? Is the number 4 a thing? Well, then do you have faith that you have 4 apples? Like, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
The number 4. It's a more clear illustration, but the number 4 is a concept we use to describe a certain quantity of things. Logic is an abstract concept we use to describe things following a certain pattern that we can identify. Yeah. Like the fact that you can't pull logic out of your pocket and show it to Brad doesn't mean that God probably exists. Like,
yeah, it's very, and again, like I'm trying to make a very big distinction here because there is a lot of debate about, okay, does mathematics like objectively exist? Like, does a material world have to exist in order for like mathematics to exist? That's an interesting question. And there's debate about that kind of stuff, right? But for Brad, his angle at this is just, well, logic has to exist. He's going, what's his name? The precept guy. He's doing like a precept argument
Tyson
here.
Bruggencate.
Yeah, he's doing a Bruggencate thing where he's kind of like, well, you're using logic and reason, and you have to have faith to know that
Or
logic
Matt
and reason
Slick.
exists, and that's how, that your presuppositions are just based on just that. It's just faith, right? So he's trying to do that whole gambit, which I didn't expect in this sort of conversation. Some presupposition stuff. It's been a minute, but yeah, not great logic and reasoning here.
And I'm talking about in the history of philosophy of thought, right? There's rationalism, which is this idea that we can come to conclusions and ideas without observations in the real world. And there's also other ideas that say, hey, we actually need the outside world to make any determinations. But that comes into question, okay, like what about math? Can math be determined purely by logic, or do we need the outside world to sort of verify that? And so those are interesting philosophical questions that I don't have the answers to be honest. I couldn't tell you one way or the other.
Okay, well,
But
the answer is God, and that's where you're going. Listen, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you go because I don't want to take your time. And listen, Dan, I hope you enjoyed this. I know that there was a few moments that you felt maybe it was aggressive, and I tried to preface it with this. And I told you, this isn't, honestly, brother, this is an experiment. It's an experiment. I'm trying to say is that, can I find an atheist who can come to the grips with the fact that I don't know that what I believe can be coherent? I can do it. It works. I don't know that I can logically and honestly, fairly say this is coherent, but it allows me to function. And so that's why I do it. And you could say the same,
How is
by
the
the way.
conversation supposed to happen here?
Yeah.
He just told you this is an experiment where I'm going to see if I can get you to admit you're full of shit. Like,
yeah. Yeah, he's just giving the old game away where it's like, this is an experiment where I'm trying my best to make you look silly. I'm trying my best to make you look like a fool, we'll see if he did that, I guess, folks. If you think I'm more of a fool after this, you let me know. But
he's not, he's just basically coming out and saying he has nothing. He's walking this conversation with no thought that he has anything to learn from you.
No, absolutely not. No. And I got that vibe. I did feel, I'll tell you, you can tell by the look on my face, I did feel like a fool for being late to fucking work so I could do this bullshit. But I did it for the fans. I did it for you guys. So gotta have that sweet content.
You should have said, yeah, this is well, my point here was to do an experiment where I get a Christian to admit he has no clue how God created Adam and Eve.
That would have been awesome. That would have been great. But yeah, we're wrapping up this conversation. I don't know if there's a whole much more to say other than I do want to get to his last his sign off message. I don't know if you know his sign off message when he does this show. Do you know his little sign off?
I don't think so.
All right, well, I think he'll say it in just a second here.
But I believe that the ability for us to have this conversation and that we actually believe it might get to an actual truth that existed prior to us and will exist after us is because God exists. The architect has given us not only the desire to do these things, but a conclusion we can rely on. That's what I believe. And so I hope you'll come back. This has been, for me, it's been fun. Maybe you don't like it and you're going to tell everybody what a miserable man I was, but I was really, really curious about this and wanted to see if it would pan out. So thank you for the conversation. Matter of fact, if you have other atheists that you think might be interested in this, I would love to talk. I want.
See, we got to get you on this. That's what it's saying.
I was interested. I was interested until I watched this. And Brad, if you're watching this, me losing interest is not because you're offensive. It's not because you've proven a point or anything. It's because you're so damn tedious, buddy. Like,
what?
I don't want to sit there in a chair and listen to you talk in circles about something that.
That's what's awesome, because like he says, I don't have to, maybe I'll go out and tell people that he's miserable. And it's like, I don't have to tell people. Like, I can just show them this video. Like, what do you mean? I think it speaks for itself. You don't have to take my word for it. You
And
know?
there's this kind of implicit accusation that you're going to go around shit talking him afterwards. When
Yeah.
he's sitting here to your face, and then in the recording before this, talking about how you just don't have any basis for what you believe, and you just don't admit it, and everything you believe is absurd. Like,
Yeah.
whatever.
I know. All right, let's see if he finishes
I want
up
to see
here.
what the answers are, or if we can find some. I hope that I was fair in what I said and set up. And I will say that if I insulted you in some ways, or if I was unfair or in some ways, I apologize. I was not meaning that. I just get really ramped about this. It excites me, and maybe it can come across too aggressive. Was not my intent, but I did forewarn you. I'm going to try something and hope that it works in a way that is helpful to everybody. So that being said, your podcast is called Objectively Dan. I recommend people go watch it, listen to it, see what you have to say. Obviously, you're an interesting person.
Yeah, show's called Truth Wanted. And yeah, my name is Objectively Dan. But yeah, Brad, I do appreciate talking with you. I would do it again with you. I absolutely would. I hope I was able to give you some enlightenment on my perspective. I'm not sure that I did.
Well, you did. You helped. You confirmed what I already knew about the patterns I've watched when atheists think about these ideas. And again, this isn't an insult. It's
that, but Brad, that is kind of insulting, isn't it? Like, if I had a show where I just talked to Christians and I said, see, every Christian I talk to, they think in the same patterns, and that's why they're all this way. You wouldn't find that insulting a little bit.
But when it comes to the essentials, Dan.
Yeah.
Like if you were to had a show where every Christian believed that Jesus Christ was God, and that's their pattern, well, of course, that's what makes you a Christian. And if every atheist believes that there's meaning in meaninglessness, and that's
hang on,
and they've never come outside of that, what am I?
Wait.
See, the difference there, Brad, is if every Christian showed up and believed that, I would take that as what they believe because they told me that. I wouldn't sit there and dictate that you believe Jesus is the Son of God because he shits his pants and cries all the time. Yeah. And that's what all Christians believe. And you just don't admit you believe it. That'd be a whole other conversation, buddy. Maybe if you actually listen to what Dan said, listen to what another atheist said, and recognize a commonality instead of you just telling them what they. Well, we know all this stuff.
I forgot about this part. Again, my memories of the last 30 minutes are fuzzy on this because I was already done. But yeah, no, this is interesting because what does he say? He literally says, "Oh, well, Christians think in a certain pattern, and the atheists are thinking a certain pattern." So I guess his goal here was to expose my pattern of thinking. I guess like it doesn't even matter what I as an individual really believe. It just matters what atheists as a collective believe. Like that's really what he's trying to expose here.
We have a perfect comment about it. Oh yes, enlightenment means confirming what I already thought.
Yeah,
I was already thinking along those lines. What how were you enlightened if it's what you already thought in the first place? You showed up and met my expectations because frankly, he met your expectations because he didn't hear what you said, and he just sat there and rehearsed his own expectations of you in his head.
Yeah. And I might be coming off as a little smarmy here, but really like what he said, like he's being the aggressor here. He just is pretending like he's not being the aggressor in saying all this, right? Like by just being like, oh, well, you did your thing. You tried your best. Atheists never don't win at the end of the day because we're all going to heaven, baby. Like that's kind of the MO in this conversation. And you can really just, I don't know, just see it right there.
I'm not insulting you. I've just recognized that you're a stupid fart face, and I'm helping you see that you're a stupid fart face.
Yeah.
It's not an insult.
It's not, it's just the way you are. That's just how your kind is. That's just how you people are. Like, oh my God. All right, yeah, let's keep going. There's a little bit more here, but again, as I mentioned, he did like put in, I don't know if I was clear about this last week because there was a part where he said he gives this little sign off and then he says, all right, we're done. And then we kind of chit chatted afterwards where it's like implied that like that wouldn't be recorded, but he just like put all of that in there. He like put our entire Zoom call in there. So I didn't say anything in the after show that like I regret or anything. It's just like, whoa, that's kind of sketchy. Like, what if I told you something in confidence that I didn't want to say on air? in that, but he just like put the whole thing on there, which is really weird. So anyway,
See, Dan, it's part of the experiment.
right, it's part of the experiment.
You've been part of a Brad Stine experiment.
Yeah. I'm like Ashton Kutcher's walking out. I've been pranked. It's wild, man. It was wild.
Supposed to say that's not true. It's what I've observed. Am I wrong in that observance? That's all I'm getting at. And maybe we didn't dissect it enough to help you.
Listen, I think black people, I've just made some observations and they just seem to act like he's literally making that argument like about atheists. Like he's saying, well, I've just seen some observations about your people. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's really bad. And he's making me seem like the asshole here. Like, what the hell? I don't know. Very funny.
You articulate it more so that maybe you think I left it hanging or I didn't give you enough time. And I'm happy to have you back on and we can focus on that. Maybe that's what we should do. Maybe this experiment showed me if this is going to get anywhere, that's the topic that needs to be.
You're going to say something.
I love how he equates having you on the show again to giving you more time.
Right.
As if he gave you any time to begin with. Like,
right. Yeah. That is an.
I mean, you got some verbal utterances out, so you were given time in that sense. But I don't feel like you were ever given time to expound upon anything before he interrupted you. And even if you did, he obviously didn't listen to you.
In the clips that we've talked about today is the most I talked throughout this entire hour and a half ordeal. And it's another reason why I kept kind of staying on instead of leaving, because I was like, oh, I'm finally getting in like a word in edgewise in this conversation. Because before, as we saw last week, like it really wasn't like that at all, which was really annoying.
Contemplated, because that's where I think we have a big sticking point, but I think it's the single most important thing. Is there meaning to life, and can it be justified by an atheist? Folks, this is Brad Stine Has Issues. This was my first conversation with a very gracious and kind man. Objectively, Dan, still don't know his last name. Maybe he's on the run. He doesn't want us to know, so I'll keep it there. But wouldn't be
what a passive aggressive turd.
Yeah, it's like, have you never talked to somebody that uses an online name before? Like, what the hell? Just a weird thing to say. Like, and that's another thing too, Brad. You can feel comfortable using your real fucking name on the internet because you don't have to fear the backlash of people like doing crazy shit to you. Like literally all of my atheist friends. Hey, spoiler alert, guys. I know a very big chunk of the atheist community. Even the ones that you think you know the first and last names of, guess what? Those are fake too. Okay, most people are not using their real names on this thing, and there's a reason for that. It's because of, I don't want to say people like Brad, but it's people who like will go out and do shitty things. I don't know.
Yeah, I've known people for years by a certain name, and all of a sudden someone walked up calling them a different name, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's my actual name." I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay."
Yeah, for sure.
I've been in the same boat. Obviously, I'm joking, folks. I'm a comic. Folks, remember, if they ever say you're being politically incorrect, always say thank you for the compliment. Nothing is more important than speaking truth. Christianity is the last truth teller on earth. And remember, I'm doing what I do, putting the woke back to sleep. See you next Monday. Woo! All right. Nice job, man. That was
amazing. And then look at this. Look, it's the rest of our fucking conversation here. Why did he do this? There's no cut at all.
That closing sucked already before he's like, woo, all right, okay.
Yeah, it is pretty funny.
I put the woke back to sleep.
I had to show you that part. Putting the woke back to sleep. Yeah. Well, he certainly put me to sleep. I'll say that. Somebody said, "Look at my face." I'm gonna skip ahead so you don't see my face there. It wasn't flattering. Anyway, I think that. Yeah,
I hope I didn't offend you, but if anyone says politically correct, then he's basically.
Isn't that interesting?
He talks about how he doesn't want to offend you, and then he closes by bragging about how he doesn't care about offending people. Essentially,
right? Isn't that interesting? Because it's like, it's the weird thing about Christian politeness. I've noticed this a lot in my family, where it's like you have to. Like you can really say things and act in completely incongruent ways, right? Where it's like, oh, I don't want to offend you. I don't want to offend you. But then also, like, you don't care. Like, you don't give a shit. You're doing things in ways which are like offensive, but like, you just think that's your belief. So you get to say it or whatever. I don't know. It's very odd. But yeah, that was, I think that's a good enough point to stop, if any, for today. Like I said, there is a part 2. I don't know if we want to get to it next week, though. I think that's enough Brad Stine for now.
I think, yeah, if we wanted to cram, if there was more you wanted to cram into this one, I'd be fine with that. But I really don't want to keep revisiting this. I think we've seen
Yeah,
plenty as far as number of episodes we do.
there's one other part, but to be honest, I don't have the timestamp for it that I'm thinking of.
Okay.
And I didn't find it earlier today. So it's fine. Honestly, if you want to watch the rest of it, you can go to his channel and watch it. I don't care. And kind of see. But I think you get the gist of what this conversation was like. I think I've definitely given you some of the highlights here as far as as what we did. So was it
Can
worth
you give your closing thoughts for a second? I'll be right back.
Okay. Was it
I'll
worth
do a
it,
love dare or
folks?
whatever.
It was always worth it for you. I literally would never have done this if I didn't think it would have been funny on some level. And that's the gremlin in me, folks, because I do it for the content, baby. I don't want to disrupt Brad or his livelihood or what he's doing or whatever. I don't want to get too personal because he's just a guy at the end of the day. And yeah, we kind of tease and poke at him. But Brad Stine is not like, he's not Joe Rogan, okay? He's not influencing the masses. So it's just kind of whatever to me. If you were a bigger deal, I wouldn't be as lax about it. But Brad's just a character. I don't know. Somebody saying I want to see that comment section. I do know actually. Sydney, Sydney Davis Jr. I texted her and told her when it was up, and she left a few comments which I thought were good. And there's a few other ones on the live comments that I thought were interesting. But anyway, yeah, Brad definitely ended that conversation with this idea of, well, it really doesn't matter what you say. It was all about seeing whether it aligns with my concepts of God or whatever and my Christian beliefs. And, that's the test for coherence, I guess. And I kind of expected that because that's how fundamentalist Christians kind of operate. And Brad is definitely a fundamentalist. He may disagree with that, but he's definitely fundamentalist in practice. Maybe not all beliefs, but definitely in practice, he behaves as a fundamentalist would. Because only a fundamentalist can talk to somebody and say, "Yeah, I don't care what you have to say because I have the truth already." Which is definitely what it felt like in this
And
conversation.
speaking of whether Brad's a fundamentalist and what kind he is,
Mm-hmm.
I find it interesting in light of what he said to you that he wanted the respect of being heard when he tried to tell you what he did and didn't believe.
Right.
So, like we already observed, if I acknowledge that every Christian I've met believes that Jesus is the Son of God and died for our sins and stuff, I'm going to arrive at that conclusion because they told me and I believed them. But Brad would not like it if you just said, well, there's a pattern of Christians believing the earth is 6,000 years old. And that's what you believe because I've noticed this pattern. And if you say you don't believe it, you're being dishonest with yourself because that's what you actually believe. Brad would not like that at all, and rightfully so. So maybe it's equally shitty. And Brad, I hope you're listening to this. If you do the same thing, you notice a pattern that you're putting together inside your own head and you don't believe. He could talk to 100 atheists in a row and they all tell them that's not what they believe. And he won't hear them. And he'll say he's noticed a pattern because he decided that's what they think. That's literally what he does. And that's why these conversations are useless.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that was a really frustrating thing for me at the moment. Because it's like, yeah, the 6,000 year Earth thing. Like, notice when I brought it up, I asked him, "Hey, do you believe this?" And he doesn't. And I was like, "Okay," so I dropped that. But he did specifically say he doesn't know, and I was like, "Wait, what do you mean you don't know? Like, could it be a possibility?" Because that's interesting too. Because yeah, Christianity again, we already talked about this. Kind of leaves it as a possibility. Which is interesting. But for a guy that says he's got the truth and he knows it, and we know things through logic and reasoning, apparently we can't know that the Earth is 6,000 years old or not. Like maybe it still could be. I don't know. But yeah.
One other problem, if you don't mind me dissecting this for a second
Mhm.
longer, is you have to be a little bit, I think both people have to be a little bit, sorry, I'm spacing on the word. Sorry. It's where you ask people questions to draw them out.
Open to dialogue? Wait, what do you mean?
I guess so.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just spacing on what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, both people have to be willing to ask questions, draw the other person out, hear what they say. Yeah, probing questions, whatever. Both people have to be willing to do that. And to get masochistic, haha, ways the human said. But yeah, in order to get in, if Brad comes at you with this assumption about what you believe or just where logic comes from or whatever, in order to probe into that, you have to ask him some questions and try to get into why he believes that and stuff like that. But what he demonstrates, and I don't think he does it on purpose, it's just the way he converses. If you try to do that, you're just inviting him to start into this 15-minute long rambling tangent that'll be partly about that in only the most pure, crass, canned apologetic terms, but then he'll wander off to God knows what, and you didn't even get anywhere. And so he basically punishes you for asking him probing questions to get to the bottom of what he believes. And so it's just, the more I see how this went, I don't blame you for doing it, and I think good can come from it. But the more I think about what happened here, the less I find myself interested in trying to talk to him, because it's just endless frustration without any progress.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I had to go back. I had to do it again because the opportunity was on the table. And when was I going to get that again? And it was okay.
I'm not going to lie. I still find it tempting. Like, I still hear certain things he said and want to put him in this place this way, but it's painful.
I don't want to put Brad. The only reason I got heated, and again, this is the most heated I think I've ever been with somebody in a conversation about this on camera. I think. I like to have a reputation of being a nice person. And like, it's not that I definitely wasn't being as nice here, but like, it was because the clips you saw were after an hour of conversation with this, right? It's just like, I get so frustrated by the end of what it's like to do this. And let's just say I can tell Brad doesn't do this very often, right? Like, and I guess most people don't, but the fact is, he's like a lot of Christians in the sense that, they just kind of give their opinion and they don't care what you think, so maybe you're right, Zod. Maybe it isn't, maybe the conversation isn't as worth it. Sometimes maybe you just got to walk away from that shit and let it go.
I don't know. I think there's some value in any conversation.
Yeah.
But I think from what I saw, the amount of effort you put in to showing up to this, I don't know if you did a ton of prep, but you showed up here ready to try to listen and have a conversation, and you sat through this, which was work in and of itself. The payout for it appears to have been so meager, unless more sunk into Brad than I think it did. And it doesn't seem like he acknowledged anything by the end of the conversation.
I will say our conversation next time went way better. It wasn't good, but it went up a grade, at least maybe 2 grades if I'm feeling generous. But the fact is, like, at the end of the day, he's not going to care, right? So, and I don't do this, and I think anybody who wants to make content on YouTube, anybody who wants to do the debate stuff, the biggest thing you will ever hear from people who are doing this way longer than me or Zod is, like, it's not about the other person that you're talking to, it's about the audience, and everybody should know that, right? So I don't think I'm going to change his audience's mind necessarily. I wasn't doing this for that. I was doing this for fun. I'm just a masochist, I guess. But anyway, I think we've covered everything.
Okay, there's one more little observation I have to make.
Okay.
So, and again, this just all shows the little hypocrisies that are going on here. Yeah. He's like, if somebody ever says you're being politically incorrect, just say thank you because it's a compliment. Okay, what if you on this? What if you had him on the show and you had your little closing line, and if somebody says, if anybody ever says you're blasphemous, just say thank you because that's a compliment. Would he think that was cool? Would he think that was a kind thing to say? Or like he acts like, and I think in some level he thinks he wants to have a constructive conversation, but he's not in tune with how insulting he is. And just really nasty things roll off his tongue, and he thinks he can pivot from, hey, this is a great guy, Dan, he's a nice guy, and I hope we had a good conversation, to you're a stupid. Like,
I'll be
I don't know,
honest.
it's just,
Now that you're talking about out loud, Zod, I think he liked the fact that I got frustrated.
oh yeah,
I think he liked it. I think that proved a point to him that I'm just somebody that thinks about these things emotionally.
yeah.
Which I don't like, and no point that I make was emotional. I was emotional in my response to him because of the way he was treating me, but nothing in my reasoning, I think, was like emotionally driven. Which is interesting. But yeah, I know. Maybe you're right. Maybe that it is kind of purpose built in a way.
And I don't think he seeks out to do that. I think it's
Yeah.
just more instinctive. It rolls off his tongue, and he has a way of he has this built-in way of thinking already. So it's just, he engages in these behaviors and sees what he sees as validation in them.
Yeah.
But essentially it's being a shit to somebody and then running away laughing because you own the libs. Like, that's
Right.
what he's doing. And you're when you do that, he's hitting too close to home. So the atheist gets all riled up, and then he puts on a show of being a little bit gracious, says, well, I hope I didn't offend you, but these conversations, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So he's being the gracious Christian. You're being the angry atheist because you can't
Right.
believe the truth. You can't accept the truth.
Right. Yeah, he is really setting that up. And like when you act like that, when you're like, oh, I hope it didn't offend you, all that, like it's setting you up to make you look like the bad guy. And I'm not saying that exclusively Brad has done this. I've definitely had conversations with Christians that do this exact thing. I was having a conversation with somebody I know this week that was like this, where like, I don't know, it is kind of somebody here in the comments, David's saying it right. He's saying he was seeking confirmation for all his beliefs. He definitely has the opinion that all atheists are bad people. That's true. That's what, like, when you feel that in a conversation, like, it's not a good time. The vibes are off, and it's gonna like emotionally trigger you, especially after you were doing it for an hour like I was. But yeah, it wasn't good, but it is what it is. It is out there. I don't know. I got to talk to Brad. I did it, guys.
Yep,
That's
you
a
did.
Zadanza achievement, if anything. So put that in the books, right? Anyway,
One thing, I keep saying one more thing, but this is just, this isn't,
one thing, you don't know why.
well,
It doesn't even
just
matter how hard you try.
part of this I find a little bit puzzling. Some of this is just kind of obvious. Well, one thing I find puzzling is his stand-up always sucked. We know that.
Yeah.
But he put together a packaged, polished, somewhat tight routine. It was tight in that it had its beats. He didn't stand up there and waste time. And as shitty as his jokes were, as mean-spirited as they were, that was a competently assembled thing in terms of pacing and in terms of, it was parsimonious enough to be a reasonable stage routine.
Yeah.
And the fact that he, at some point in his life, knew how to do that, and now he just sits there and just live rambles in circles without getting anywhere. It's hard for me to totally, like we said, there's that whole ADD component to it. Somewhere in his life, he knew how to tame that and like polish a message. And did he lose track of that? Or does he think that streaming is just easy? Or I don't know.
I wondered that too. Because like, yeah, he's been doing media forever, for decades, right? Like you should have some sort of instinct or training for that kind of thing. At least people I know that are good at it do. And it didn't feel like that when talking to him. I guess like this kind of conversation isn't his usual shtick, so I can give him that. But like, yeah, you're definitely right. There is something that is kind of strange. It doesn't feel like a best effort was put in. Exhibit A being that the whole freaking Zoom conversation was posted and not cut off at any point. Like, if I'm just side content, whatever, I'll stop being mad about it. But
all right, well, you want to do a love dare?
Yeah, let's talk about the love dare.
All right. Love Dare is a book. I'm not going to do the whole thing.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the Love Dare, I guess look back. It's just a book where you do a dare every day.
Dumb book we're reading.
Yeah.
That's all you got to know.
A Christian man wrote it ostensibly for Christian men and women, but it's obviously targeted at men. And it's how to fix your marriage if it started going downhill because you behave like a clueless man in evangelical who thought he has authority over his wife and now she wants to leave. And so you do a nice thing for her every day.
Right. All
right, Dave. What's that?
Like you do.
All right, day 12. Love lets the other win.
Okay.
Do not merely look out for your own personal interests, but also for the interests of others. Philippians 2:4.
Mm-hmm.
I started sliding into more of an accent than I meant to there. Sorry.
You
Guys.
kind of did.
I was just trying to
It's
sound
kind of a little
fancy.
storytelling beat you got going on there.
All right, here we go. This is serious therapeutic material, not just puffed up pop Christian writing.
Yeah. Please therapize me. I want to know your wisdom.
Therapize harder, Daddy.
Stop. No. Stop. It wasn't like that. And then you made it like that, Zod. I'm going to pretend like that sentence didn't come out of your mouth. And we're going to keep moving on.
All right. If you were to ask the name of 3 areas where you and your spouse disagree, you'd likely be able to do it without thinking very hard. You might even be able to produce a top 10 list if given a few more minutes. And sadly, unless someone at your house starts doing some giving in, these same issues are going to keep popping up between you and your mate. Unfortunately, stubbornness comes as a standard feature on both husband and wife models. Defending your rights and opinions is a foundational part of your nature and makeup. It's detrimental, though, inside a marriage relationship, and it steals away time and productivity. It can also cause great frustration for both of you. So,
Great.
I guess this is obvious. You don't want to dig in and fight about everything, and we all have things we disagree about.
Yes. What new information have we learned?
Yeah. So this book, as always, is wavering between obvious observations and cluelessness. Now, here's where I'm thinking going into this, and you can share your thoughts too, or amend what I say or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll give you the opportunity to reveal that you're lying about what you believe if you want to say something after I'm done.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
I feel like I'm on a game show. Let's do it.
Guess who I'm being?
Oh shit.
So he's talking about points of conflict,
Right.
and obviously you can make a list of 10 things you disagree about, but
Right.
all of those have some core issue where it's not necessarily you're butting heads on an indisputable difference in point of fact, right? Where one person has to win and the other person has to lose. There's obviously just some friction there about how you're feeling and about how you handle a certain thing. And usually you can mesh somewhere in that. It's not a win-lose proposition. It seems like he's presenting it as digging in on what's a win-lose proposition, a zero-sum game, essentially. And it doesn't have to be what he's saying. He can just be talking about being stubborn, and that he can come to some intelligent points about compromise. But I suspect that is not what's going to happen. I suspect he won't get into all that nuance, which is really what this chapter should be about.
I'll be honest. I think you thought way too deep about this. I think he was like, you and your husband may have differences on how to do the dishes. Like, that's where I think this was about. And you're like, I think you guys have fundamental differences on your on supporting Israel. Like, no, I don't know if it's that serious. Like, I think they're talking about how the best to take the dog on a walk, you know.
But that's kind of what I'm getting at here.
Yeah.
It's a lot of household stuff, but I think he's treating it as if there's a right or a wrong answer, or just a zero-sum game where somebody has to win or lose, and there's not some kind of compromise that can happen in the middle. That's what I'm not reading that between the lines of what he's saying. I'm saying that's where this can be the beginning of an intelligent conversation, and he's probably not going to go there. That's what I'm.
Okay, I gotcha. I feel you.
I'm providing a contrast to what we're probably going to see. He might surprise us. I haven't read this yet, but we'll find out.
You're faking the funk on a nasty dunk right now.
Yeah, that's what the kids say these days, right?
I think that's what Shaquille O'Neal said in 1993. But yeah.
All right.
We'll continue.
Granted, being stubborn is not always bad. Some things are worth standing up for and protecting. Our priorities, morals, and obedience to God should be guarded with great effort. But too often we debate over piddling things like the color of wallpaper or paint,
Israel. No, I'm just kidding.
Or the choice of restaurants. Other times, of course, the stakes are much higher. One of you would like more children. The other doesn't. One of you wants to vacation with your extended family. The other doesn't. One of you prefers homeschooling your kids. The other doesn't. I love how that's one of the piddling things.
To be fair, that's got to be one that comes up in a lot of Christian households, right?
Well,
Oh,
actually,
do
I'm
we-
sorry. This is one of the ones where he said the stakes
That's
are
yeah.
higher.
He
Sorry.
said the serious ones. Yeah, yeah.
One of you thinks it's time for marriage counseling or to get more involved in church, while the other thinks you should just get this stupid ass book instead. Oh, sorry. While the other doesn't. Though these issues may not crop up every day, they keep resurfacing and don't really go away. It's a poem.
Yeah, you did a little Dr. Seuss bit there. I like that.
You never seem to get any closer to a resolution or compromise. The heels just keep digging in. It's like driving with a parking brake on.
Wow, deep.
You know, instead of really coming to any insights, you could just keep repeating different analogies. That's
Yeah, it's
basically
true.
the same as good advice.
It's kind of like you're not going anywhere. It's kind of like you're stopped at a stop sign. It's kind of like you can't go up to the next grade. You know, kind of like this paragraph. It kind of just keeps going on and on. It doesn't.
Yeah, if you could outline all these chapters, it would be like obvious observation, anecdote, analogy, anecdote, obvious observation, the end. Here's do the same dare you've already done 3 times.
Yeah, yeah.
There's only one way to get beyond stalemates like these, and that's by finding a word that's the opposite of stubbornness. A word we first met back while discussing kindness. That word is, you want to guess
Freedom.
what the word is?
America.
Willing.
Jesus. Oh, okay. Willing. Oh, no. Wait a minute. Whoa. You can get to some weird territory with that word. Be careful, son. All right.
It's an attitude and spirit of cooperation that should permeate our conversations.
Oh, no.
It's like a palm tree by the ocean that endures the greatest winds because it knows how to gracefully bend. So another analogy.
Okay. Let's slow our roll here. Is the author saying that the people in his life, specifically the author's wife, needs to be more willing? Is that what's going on here? Is there some sort of deeper underlying psychological sort of analysis that needs to be had? Sort of Freudian thing going on? No? Okay. I'll let that be. Never mind. You're not playing
that would be
I'm tossing you the ball.
that would be a passive aggressive evangelical way to approach that conversation.
You let that shit fly. You said no thanks. All right. Yeah. He's going
like a ball that got thrown so high I can't reach it. I let that go right over my head. Like a horse being led to water I did not drink. Do we need a few more analogies to help?
Wait, was that one from the book?
No.
Okay.
I'm being like him and just padding out this
Yeah,
observation.
okay, I got it. I got the bit. It was a good bit.
Yes.
Oh man.
Okay,
Okay, first, sorry, I know you gotta keep going. Drew Harrison says, why do people associate rhyme with Dr. Seuss if he invented it? Because if a grown adult that isn't a rapper is doing a rhyme for me, and apropos of nothing, okay, it's just gonna be like a Dr. Seuss thing. I don't know. Is that so wrong? Is that so bad? Okay.
Dr. Seuss has nothing on Alexander Pope.
Yeah, that's fair.
He wrote he translated all of Homer into couplets.
Really? Is that what he did?
Literally every other line rhymes for all of the Homeric epics.
Wow. That was like too much, I think, right?
Yeah,
Like, I don't think you had to do that.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a lot of trouble into making something painful to read, but whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool that he did that, I guess. Good job, Alex.
And the one best example of it is Jesus Christ, as described in Philippians 2.
Right.
Follow the progression of his selfless love.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I forgot the part where instead of just analogies and anecdotes, he pads out with Bible illustrations. That's
yeah. Yeah. It's 40% analogies, 40% Bible stuff, 20% maybe something there on a good day, I think.
Yeah. As God, he had every right to refuse becoming a man, but yielded and did because he was willing. See that word there? Willing.
Willing.
He had the right to be served by all mankind, but came to serve us instead. He had the right to live in peace and safety, but willingly laid down his life for our sins. He was even willing to endure the grueling torture of the cross. He loved, cooperated, and was willing to do his Father's will instead of his own. If God was willing to do all that, why can't you just be willing to spread your legs 3 times a week?
Stop! No! Stop! It's too graphic. No! Stop! No! We can't take it back. You put it on the internet, it's out there forever.
All right.
Okay. All right. I'll give it to you. You did it. Good job. Good job.
In light of this amazing testimony, the Bible applies to us a 1-sentence summary statement. Have this attitude in yourself, which was also in Christ Jesus. Philippians 2:5. What's that?
I said, put out. Have this attitude in your heart. Well, babe, I need you to be like Christ Jesus. Please. Do this for me.
The attitude of willingness, flexibility, and humble submission. It means laying down for the good of others what you have the right to claim for yourself.
No.
Yeah.
This is all fetish stuff now. I can't stop. I can't stop with this.
I made it more graphic, but once you brought that up earlier, a lot of this sounds like a lot like a Christian man brimming over with sexual frustration and not quite wanting to express it to his wife.
Well, what I'm saying is you need to submit. You need to let me have my way with you.
You got to have some willingness, flexibility.
That's a big one. Oh, God. Oh, no.
And this sounds almost like Asher says, wait, I thought this was supposed to be about sex. If we're to read it that way, and honestly, I don't think that's what he really means, even though it sounds kind of funny. It sounds less like he's being actively passive aggressive, like maybe that's coming up a couple times, but that he's just like so bursting with sexual frustration that's just built into his vocabulary.
Yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there for sure.
All it takes. Sorry. How much do we have left? All right, sorry, I gotta pop a cough drop real quick if I'm gonna keep reading.
All right, he's popping that cough drop, and I'm popping you some fresh rhymes. Let's hear it. What?
I'm mostly over being sick, but man, this thing is like stuck around for almost 4 weeks.
Hold on, I'm looking up. Dr.
I probably have long COVID.
I'm looking up Dr. Seuss rhymes.
Okay.
Why is this so hard? Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas perhaps means a little bit more. That was okay.
All right, ready?
No, I gotta do one more.
God damn it.
I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful 100%. That's a good one. That's bars. I like it. All right, please continue.
All it takes for your present arguments to continue is for both of you to stay entrenched and unbending. But the very moment one of you says, gosh, I'm willing to go your way on this one, the argument will be over. And though the follow-through may cost you some pride and discomfort, you have made a loving, lasting investment in your marriage. Now, it's weird that they used to...
my brain is going dirty places at literally every single sentence. And
it's weird that they read this at my church.
Yeah.
No, because this says, the moment one of you says, I'm willing to go your way, the argument will be over. My old pastor literally said, wives, if you don't argue, there will be no argument. So this book is kind of
oh, if you don't argue, there'll be no argument.
Yeah.
God
he said, wives, if you don't argue with your husband, there will be no argument. And then on top of that, he said, men, you don't have the right to not have the last word.
You don't not have the right to have the last word?
Yeah, he said, men, God doesn't give you, he basically said, God doesn't give you permission to not have the last word. Like you have to have the last word if you're the husband. So basically this book is saying one of you, husband or wife, needs to bend in order to not have fighting. It's weird that they read this at that church because my pastor said, no, men should not stop fighting. The woman is the one who needs to not fight.
Holy shit! What the fuck, son? That's fucked up. God
Yeah.
damn.
No, and this is what, because this book talks about big and little things. He says, if it's little things, just roll with it. If it's a big thing like moving to another state or something like that, then just pray. Yeah, it was something else.
Jesus. Wow. Are you telling me that Christianity can breed resentful relationships? Son, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, I never thought about that before.
And
Huh.
but he said that if a woman keeps pressing the argument, if she keeps arguing, this is not the book, this is that pastor. He says if the woman keeps arguing, keeps pressing, whatever, she leaves her husband with only 3 options. One is to abdicate his responsibility as the leader of the household. The other is
What
to
does that
leave.
mean? you go to the court martial and you say, I'm abdicating my duties.
No, basically he said the only options are to give up his God-given responsibility to lead the household.
Okay.
The second one is to actually just walk up and leave out of frustration. Or the third one is to rise up and become abusive. Those are the 3 options you give your husband if you'll fight with him.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Pretty literally, you give her no choice but to hit her.
Hey, John, is that guy in jail now? Is he out and about? We need to stop him. What is he doing these days? What's good? That's not cool. Okay. Jesus Christ.
Misinterpretation says, what if the husband is a verbally abusive POS? He'd probably say, well, pray that he improves.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
All right.
Dude, men are trash. That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man.
Yes. Okay. We're back to the book here.
Yeah, back to the book.
Yes, but then I'll look foolish. I'll lose the fight. I'll lose control. You've already looked foolish by being bullheaded and refusing to listen. You've already lost the fight by making this issue more important than your marriage and your spouse's sense of worth. You may have already lost emotional control by saying things that got personal and hurt your... This is like talking to emotional kindergartners. God damn it.
You may have lost emotional control, Deborah. I can just imagine. Like, doing a little name drop.
You never lose control in a fun way.
You always have to make my life a living hell. Just shut up.
The wise and loving thing to do is start approaching your disagreements with a willingness to not always insist on your own way. This is such kindergarten bullshit. God damn. All right, let's just finish this up.
But some Christians do need it, honestly.
That's not to say your mate is necessarily right or being wise about a matter, but you are choosing to give strong consideration to their preference as a way of valuing them. Love's best advice comes from the Bible, which says, the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, willing to yield. Sorry about my mouth sounds. I'll move that.
Which is awesome because, like, okay, a love willing to yield. Oh, okay, so you just let other people, like gay people, be who they are, or atheists live their lives or whatever. Oh, wait, no, that's not what they mean. No, we have to be strong on that front. We got to evangelize on there.
And by the way, yeah, Hollyhock, did that pastor believe that any Christian man can marry any Christian woman and have the marriage work because Jesus? Yep.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just because Jesus. He said that any 2 people could stay married and love each other if they just decided to.
Ugh, gross. That gave me the ick when you described that, Zod.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to tell you I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry you had to hear that firsthand. That sounds awful. Genuinely.
What I'm more sorry about is this. He has a prominent church in our community, and we're living in a more increasingly Christian nationalist nation. And he knows that. I'm pretty sure he knows that I've said a lot of things about him that I've said. So
damn,
we'll see how that plays out in the coming years.
Next episode, I got to talk to Zon's old pastor in a recording, and we're gonna react to the video. No, that'd be wild.
All right. We need to wrap up here. We're at the end of the hour.
Let's wrap it up.
Instead of treating your wife or husband like an enemy or someone to be guarded against, start by treating them as your closest, most honored friend. Give their words full weight. No, you won't always see eye to eye. You're not supposed to be carbon copies of each other. If you were, one of you would be unnecessary. 2 people who always share the same opinions and perspective won't have balance or flavor to enhance the relationship. Rather, your differences are for listening to and learning from. Are you willing to bend to demonstrate your love to your spouse?
Are you willing to bend?
You made this whole chapter dirty.
Listen, the subtext was there from the very beginning.
Yeah.
I just picked up on it sooner. It would have happened eventually. Okay.
Now that we've seen it, maybe this whole book is That's What She Said, the novel.
This one especially so, but yeah.
Are you refusing to give in because of pride? If it doesn't matter in the long run, especially in eternity, then give up your rights and choose to honor the one you love. It will be
Just
good for
okay.
both
I
you.
want you to no, I actually do this, but you could say those last 3 sentences and end it with the word kitten every time. And it would just be it's just a fetish conversation at that point. But
It will be
anyway.
both good for you and good for your marriage. So that basically, okay, I'm just going to ask you first, and we got to wrap this up quick. But
Yeah.
would you say that this chapter got anywhere close to approaching the obvious insights that I alluded to at the beginning?
No. No insight whatsoever. Yeah.
It was literally people have differences of opinion. You can get stubborn, but try not to be stubborn, even though the
Just
other person's not right, and give in a little bit.
submit. Submit,
those-
baby.
Yeah,
That's it. That's the answer.
those child level observations are all he said in this padded out chapter, which, whatever. That's this book.
Jesus.
All right, today's dare. Demonstrate
Yeah.
love by willingly choosing to give in to an area of disagreement between you and your spouse. Tell them you are putting their preference first. Check here when you've completed it. Okay. I love the premise of this dare, which is that you and your spouse are going to fight about something every single goddamn day.
Right. It's true. It's true.
I mean, like if you bring something up that's an ongoing issue. I mean, we all have our ongoing issues. If you brought something up and gave in, but if you're confronting confronting a problem every day to the point you have to you can compromise on any particular day, I think you have some issues there.
That's true. I don't think you should have to compromise if you don't feel like you need to or want to. Like if I ever feel like I'm just saying okay whatever to my wife, it's because I genuinely don't care enough about something. It's not if I feel like she would if I did feel a certain way, she would suss it out and would want to know if I felt a certain way about it, because that would change her approach to it, right? Because then you're not being honest at that point. You're basically just being deceitful. You're just saying, hey, I'm just gonna let this go just so this this relationship goes by. And that's what you do in customer service. You don't do that with your life partner, right? So I don't know.
Well, also his conclusion reinforces, it's basically the conclusion I thought, which is he's treating the entire thing as a zero-sum game. And so in order to come to some kind of compromise, you need to give up half or give up the whole thing. Like sometimes you can resolve what creates friction between people is something you can resolve without giving anything up. Not always, but he just treats it as any disagreement is just something that is basically irresolvable without one person getting their way and the other person not. Some things are that way, but considering the fact that's how he treats that's as deep as he goes, just shows this book is basically nothing. Anyway, that's all. Final thoughts.
Just submit. It's better for you. That's my sign off for today, audience. Hey, you listening out there? Just submit. It's like Nike's just do it. Just submit, and your life will be a lot better. And those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts?
Let me think.
You want to give a real answer? This book doesn't have anything good to give about relationship advice. It's don't just like say don't compromise in your relationship just to compromise. Like if you really do feel strongly about something, you should speak up about it. And should you reevaluate your priorities? Maybe, but like that's something you got to work out. Don't like just let things go just to let things go, because that's how you build resentment. Now this book is actively giving bad advice, because before sometimes it was kind of like neutral to bad, and this is like, okay, this will actively wreck you if you're not careful and if you take this too literally. So there you go. That's my serious answer.
All right. Anyway. And if somebody says you're politically incorrect, say thank you, because it's a compliment.
Right. Good
night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Voy a cantar esta canción con mucho cariño de mi corazón a la República Dominicana, la casa del merengue y la casa de la bachata. Voy a cantar esta canción con mucho cariño de mi corazón a la República Dominicana, la casa del merengue y la casa de la bachata. La, 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 la casa del merengue, la, 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 y la casa de la bachata.